and welcome to ICAN Become. My name is Jamie, and I'm 13 years old. I live in Portland, Oregon. I like to play video games, research animals, and do the video newsletter at my school. When I grow up, one of the things I want to be is a newsreader. So my friends at ICAN Radio have arranged for me to talk to Phillip Norton from the BBC. I want to ask him about being a newsreader, what he wanted to be when he grew up, and what advice he has for me. So now, let's get into the interview.
Stand by.
And now for the news.
Hi, thanks for coming on the show.
Great to be here, Jamie. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, I'm Phil. I am from Grimsby, which is in the northeast of England. I live in Hull, and I'm a journalist. I work for the BBC. I film, I edit, I report my own stories for the local BBC News programme here called Look North. We cover a whole chunk of the east of England, around the counties of East Yorkshire and Lincolnshire. And I also work for the national BBC News as well, and I cover the whole of the north of England sometimes. So sometimes I'm on the what we call the proper telly and do the big news, and it's good fun. It's something different every day, and it's something that I always really wanted to do.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
So when I was at school, I actually wanted to be an airline pilot. I thought that would be quite a cool job to do, and I always wanted to, be someone that traveled the world. And I thought, well, I've always kind of liked planes, and I thought, well, actually flying a plane would be pretty cool. But then when I was at school, I realized pretty early on that I was also really terrible at maths. And you kind of need to know maths to fly a plane. But I did realize that I was much better at English. And so that's where I thought maybe I need to look at doing something in that world, where something that I could sort of do at school pretty well.
I see. What's it like being a newsreader?
Do you know what? It's fun. It's hard work. It's stressful. There's a lot of deadlines. There's a lot of pressure. You have to think on your feet a lot, but it's really fun. And I'm a newsreader. I'm a news anchor here for BBC Look North. But I'm also one of your roving reporters, if you like. So I'm out and about, meeting people, speaking to people, telling everyone, all the viewers, what's happening in our part of the world. And it's something different every day. Today I've been at a Royal Air Force base in Lincolnshire, filming with someone who fixes our fighter jets, because he's going to be in a competition an e-sports competition, racing Formula One cars. So, he's got a really, really cool thing going on, and he's in a big competition tomorrow, and his day job is fixing fighter jets. Now, how often do you go and meet people doing that kind of thing? And, I was filming a fighter jet today. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, you don't get to do that often. That's exciting. How old were you when you knew you wanted to be a newsreader?
So I was 15 years old when at school we had something called an industry day, which is when people from different companies, different organizations came into my school, and we had a whole day of activities. And my mentor that day was a sports journalist, sports reporter at the Grimsby Telegraph, a guy called Andrew McKinnon. And he was telling me everything that they do to get a newspaper printed each day. And he was also the Grimsby Town reporter. So Grimsby Town is my football club, who I support here. And his job was to go around, follow Grimsby Town, report on all their games, get them, printed in the newspaper. But the way he told it of sort of telling these stories of these games that were going on, getting them printed in the newspaper against all the deadlines, I thought, that's something I'd quite like to do. And so I was able to get some work experience at the age of 15 at my local newspaper. And I went in there, and it was like a whole new world. It was just how you imagined a newspaper to be, a newsroom to be. It was just, there was a buzz about it. All these journalists in there finding out news stories and heading out and reporting on what was happening. And it was a few hours later on the front of a newspaper on the streets of Grimsby. And I thought, this is something I want to do.
What are some skills you need to become a good newsreader?
So for all of my job, you need to be a good listener. You need to have really good people skills, because a lot of our job is dealing with the public, and it can be in a whole range of situations. You could be doing something with someone who's just won an Olympic gold medal, and they're excited and you're celebrating with them. But then you can also be doing a story in someone's house who's just lost a loved one a few hours before. And you've got these ups and downs. You're reporting on the whole of life, really, the good times, the sad times, the bad times, and everything that comes with it. So you need to be really adaptable to those situations. When it comes to news reading, you need to be able to keep a cool, calm head. Things can sometimes start going wrong, or you'll be reading a cue into a story, and suddenly you find out that the next story that's supposed to be there isn't there, or it's not worked, or the live link to a reporter has gone down, and you've got to think on your feet. How are you going to fill that time? What are you going to do? And certainly sometimes, so myself, as my job on some of my shifts I do, I'm also the producer of the program as well as the presenter. And so I have to do the whole thing. I have to work out exactly what story is going to be moved around, so that, ultimately I don't want to look a Wally on the TV. So I've got to make sure that it all looks fairly seamless. And, we're pretty good. We've got a good team around us as well. It's not just the newsreader who you see on the TV. You've got a team of technical staff in the gallery who are all brilliant at managing to keep you looking and feeling calm on air.
What is something I should focus on at school to become a good newsreader?
So to get into journalism, I would say focus on obviously you need good English skills, good writing skills, the people skills, good listening skills, but also just kind of a broad range of subjects. So one of the things that I did, I specialized, when I went to do basically at high school, I studied journalism. I think if I was to do things again, I would probably specialize in something like a geography or a history or something like that, because I think that there are so many adaptable skills in news reading or in journalism that actually, if it doesn't work out for you in journalism, hopefully it does, then you can then go off and do something else. A lot of people in journalism go into PR or communications, things like that. And if you had extra skills behind you, then that would always help. But ultimately, if you want to be a good writer or a good speaker, focus on your English, and focus on anything you might want to look at as a specialism in the future. Because if you want to go into, I don't know, politics or something like that, then, political reporter, focus on your politics side of things. Because actually, a lot of the journalism side of stuff is you've got to keep things simple. So one of the best rules of thumb we use when telling a story is to keep it simple. And pretend you're with your friends at school, and that's how you tell the story, because then it comes across much more relatable for everyone.
What's been your favorite story to report so far?
So my favorite story that a lot of people remember me for was when I first started out, and it was a cow that ran away. I got a call one night saying there's a cow, it's on the loose in Hull, it's just running around streets. So my girlfriend at the time was making tea for me this night. I said, there's a cow on the loose, I've got to go try and find this cow. So I went and found this cow. It was in the back of a big factory, just wandering around, and the police were there. There was a police helicopter there shining its big torch down on the cow to keep an eye on it. There was a vet that was called. Anyway, the cow managed to escape all the police and just went running around Hull. It caused absolute chaos. And I was able to, with this police officer who kind of said, look, jump in my van with me, we'll chase after it. There was a point where there was a railroad crossing, and the cow had got onto the railway line, and I filmed, and it was the opening shot of my piece. The cow coming down the tracks like it was a train, being chased by a police officer waving a truncheon, and the barriers were down on this crossing, and all the cars had to stop for it, and it was really funny. And ultimately, the cow had been, they tranquilized it, and it fell off the side of the railway lines. And then there was a big police operation, and the fire brigade had to come along. They had to winch the cow off the railway line and get it. And it was, anyway, what happened was, the cow was fine. It went back to his farm, and everyone lived happily ever after.
That sounds hilarious. Breaking news.
Breaking news. See, you've already got it. Yes, it was a moose flash.
What is it like being on TV, knowing so many people are watching?
If you think about it, it's quite daunting. The trick is to forget how many people at home are watching, and you're just looking into the lens of a camera, just as we're doing now. You're not thinking about it at the moment. It's one of those things where you just kind of get used to it. The strange thing is when I'm sat at home and I'm just watching the news like anyone else, and my local news used to come on when I'd first started doing the job, and suddenly I was there telling the news. That's quite strange sometimes. That I don't think it ever stops being strange. But I didn't get into this kind of journalism to be on the TV. That was never my intention. I never wanted to be on telly or famous or anything like that. I purely got into it because I love the broadcast side to it. I love the creativity of filming my own stories, editing my own stories, and ultimately telling people stories. And TV is still a brilliant medium to be able to do that.
I see. What is your best advice for me?
My best advice for you is to keep going for any of your aspirations, because many people when I was your age told me you'll never get to be, on TV as a journalist. You'll never get to read the news. The best thing I can say is if you have a dream, just keep going for it and don't let anyone put you off. If you're determined enough, you're so focused on what you want to achieve in life, I do believe that anyone can get there with it might take a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication, but ultimately you've just got to keep going for it and believe in yourself.
I agree.
So Jamie, I've got a question for you then. Are you doing anything to help yourself get into journalism?
I'm on the video newsletter at my school. So yeah, I get to report the news that happens for the week at school.
Brilliant. And how long have you been doing that?
Since November last year, I think.
Yeah, and you're still doing this. What did you enjoy about it then?
My very own segment, Who's That Character? Me and two
Who's that character?
Yeah. Me and two of my friends have our own segment. We put a character on the screen. People in the school watching it try to guess.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great. And how's that all going? Is it going well?
Yes. If one of the students in my school gets the character correct this week, they'll have a streak of 10 characters correct in a row, which would be all of them.
Wow, doing well then.
Yeah, we've had 9 episodes of the newsletter with my segment, and that person has 9 answers right at the moment.
Fantastic. And where do you see yourself then in the future? What would you like to do in the future?
Hopefully either being a newsreader, just like you, or being a zoologist.
Excellent. Well, you could potentially join the two together.
Of course. Be a reporter on animals.
Absolutely. Specialize in nature. There's those opportunities out there. So that's the beauty of journalism, is that you can combine your interests sometimes, and you can end up writing, speaking, reporting on something that you actually, really, really love and are really passionate about.
Indeed.
Well, I hope you're already doing the right thing now. You know how to act in front of a microphone. You've got the cams on as well, monitoring the audio, so you're halfway there.
Thank you so much for being on ICAN Become. Great to meet you.
Absolute pleasure, Jamie, and good luck with all your endeavors and your hopes for the future.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to ICAN Become with me, Jamie. Today I have learned that even though I want to be a newsreader, it is important to work on my listening skills, and that sometimes my job might involve chasing livestock. What do you want to become when you grow up? Why not tell my friends at ICAN? Just visit icanradio.org and let them know. And maybe you could interview someone cool, just like I did. I wanted to thank my guest, Phillip Norton, for coming to the show. Because of you, I now know I can become a newsreader.